I am Heidi. I work at the Iowa City Public Library, as do my colleagues, Stacey McKim and Terri Byers. And we're here to remind all of you, although you're probably well aware, the library is way more than just books. We are a community center, we're a technology center, and we strive to meet people where they're at in terms of accessibility. And we just wanted to highlight some of maybe the lesser known or just extra things the library has to offer that you don't maybe think of right away. I mean, we all know you go to the library to check out a book, but we're going to be talking about volunteering. We're going to be talking about the AtHome Program for people who have difficulty coming to the library, how they can get books and more delivered to them. We're going to talk about our digital media lab and all the sort of the wealth of knowledge and resources available there. So without further ado, we're going to introduce ourselves. I am Heidi. I'm an outreach assistant in community and access services. I've worked in my current position doing at-home program, jail services, and outreach libraries for about 5 years, I want to say. And also I do a little bit of work on the Bookmobile when needed. I have a 2-year-old and a husband. We live on the north side, so we are often at Happy Hollow Park. If you're around there, we're there all the time. Yeah, and I sort of fell into libraries accidentally. I was going to school to become a social worker while I worked part-time at the library. And then I realized that I could use social work knowledge to enhance my work at the library. And so I've been sticking with that and I'm very happy in community and access services. Now introducing Terri Byers. Terri, take it away.
I have been a volunteer supervisor at the Iowa City Public Library since 1999, and I have met hundreds of people through our volunteer program. It's been quite a journey, but I also started my career at ICPL as a volunteer, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. I am born and raised in Iowa City. I'm 6th generation Iowa Cityan. On my mom's side, my dad's side, I'm the 4th generation Iowa Cityan. I did my internship in gerontology at Elder Services, which was in the basement of the senior center at the time. So I have a background in gerontology, but most of all most of my career now has been as a volunteer supervisor and in recruiting and keeping volunteers at the ICPL.
All right. And Stacey, introducing Stacey McKim.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stacey. I run the digital media lab on the 2nd floor of the library. And so you might have seen me for a tech class or 2 at the senior center before the pandemic hit. And then you might have seen me on Zoom and in-person tech classes ever since. I've been at the library about 7 years. And I used to work down with Terri and Heidi and drive the Bookmobile. And then a few years ago, I switched it up. So you'll see me upstairs at the info desk and doing technology stuff.
Stacey has great classes. And just in case Stacey is not going to plug this herself, next Thursday, right? There's going to be a What the Heck Just Happened.
Right. I brought my little slip with me, so we could talk about it now or during the fun stuff at the end.
We can talk about that at the end. I just wanted to make sure that I pointed out that your classes are great. Okay.
Thanks, Heidi. And I'm always taking suggestions too. So if there's something you wish the library did, please let me know.
And where is this photo of you taken?
Oh, I was in Iceland. This was how many months? 6 months before air travel stopped, for the pandemic. Yeah. So it still seems like it was recent to me.
Striking geology. Okay, so volunteers. This is totally Terri's wheelhouse. So I'm going to press mute and let Terri tell me when to switch the screen and tell us more about volunteering?
Sure. The volunteer program actually began in 1980, and the first big project that the volunteer program did at ICPL was to move the library from the old Carnegie building, which is over across the street from the current building, to the 1981 edition, which is somewhat the building that we're sitting in right now. It was redone in 2004, but they moved the entire library in 2 days, used over 150 volunteers, and Carol Spaziani and Kathy Mitchell organized that. And we'll talk about Carol in a few minutes, but really that's where everything started. Currently, we have many positions to do volunteering, and our volunteers range in age from 15 to, I think we have a 90-year-old who's volunteering. So it's a whole age range, and they do a lot of the same things. They do a lot of this stuff that they like to do. They pick their own times. It's really a flexible program. For a long time, the volunteer program, we had staff checking in books, and that work flow changed in the sense that we now have paid staff doing that. So we had to find a new job. And so if you want to flip the screen to the new area that we just started staffing, beginning October 2021, we had a crew of volunteers who used to check in books, and they needed to find something to do. Our current director was looking for a welcome desk situation so that people could be greeted when they came into the library, that they could ask easy questions to staff, and staff could really do directional things. And I just happened to be at Mercy Hospital, and I watched how their volunteers work in terms of how they direct people and what they do. And so with that, I created the welcome desk. We had ready volunteer staff who were eager to do it. Now, some people didn't want to do it, and they were going to do the other jobs that we do, which if you want to go back to the other screen, Heidi, that would be cool. We do facing, and we do collection inspection. Dawn, who's with the orange cart, she long-term collection inspection volunteer. And then facing is basically looking at stuff and making sure it's straight on the shelves. Another job that we do is the gift book sorting for the bookend. And that's kind of a more off the scenes, but most of our volunteers now are in the public face, and we're very excited about that, because for a long time a lot of people worked in the back. Some people preferred that, but a lot of people didn't know how big our volunteer program is. Right now I have about 60 volunteers doing all kinds of things. Collection inspection, for 3 years we really haven't had people looking at the collection, so we started up collection inspection again. And what that is you go through every book on the shelf, and they look at the condition of the book, and there's a criteria that they follow from our collection services department. And basically what we're looking at is we're examining books so that we give you the best quality books and the best type of book that you would enjoy reading without, writing in it or ripply pages or anything like that. So if you want to go to the other screen. The welcome desk, again, is kind of evolving. So we do the informational things. Right now, we're giving out the COVID tests. So our volunteers do that and direct people to where those are at. They help people with self-check. They help people find the hold shelf. They also direct people to the desks that they need to go to, either the help desk or the reference desk on the second floor, or the information desk, or the digital lab, because we get a lot of questions about that. And right now it's tax time, so they're telling people where the printers are and where the tax forms are. So it's an evolving system of things. They also kind of look at the lobby. We have displays and giveaways in the lobby that they're very popular with our clients and with our customers and with our patrons. And they kind of keep that in shape during the day, because it can get pretty weeded. and also it's basically somebody to say hello to. And I'm just so happy that it's been such a success, and people really like doing that. And we have some folks that work 1 hour a week, some people 2 hours a week. We don't ask you to do more than 2 hours a week as a volunteer, no matter what you're going to do. The other place where there's a lot of volunteers, and I hope that it will expand and go back to their regular hours, is the Bookend, which is the library's bookstore. That's run by Patty McCarthy, and she recruits volunteers for that. And that's our second biggest use of volunteers. But yeah, the volunteer program, it started in 1980. It really got on the map because of Carol Spaziani. Carol Spaziani was responsible for starting the entire volunteer program. We lost Carol this year, and her legacy, I got to tell you, she is really important to the history of this building and this program. So many programs that Carol started are still in place, and volunteering was just one of the many things that she did. But the volunteer program was in place. It worked within a few years. It didn't take a lot of fine tuning because of what Carol brought to the table and her skill level. We miss her. This volunteer, our volunteer recognition is on in April, which is, I gotta look at the date. It's April 27th. It's an ice cream thank you to the volunteers. We haven't met for 2 years now. We sent our volunteers home in March 2020, and Carol was a volunteer, and even after she retired. And there's going to be a lot of stuff in Carol's honor this year. We're gonna have a special tribute to her volunteer recognition. And of course, it's open to the public. So if you knew Carol, we'll welcome you to that. Or if you want to wait till the fall when the Carol Spaziani Intellectual Freedom Festival starts, I know most of the programs will be dedicated in her memory. So Carol, we just want to say thank you to her for all the work that she's done. I think I've got through all the volunteer stuff. So you can get an application at any public service desk. And so I will turn it over to Heidi, and just if you have any questions, just go to chat.
Carol also had a lot to do with starting the AtHome program, which I currently oversee. It's one of the bigger parts of my job, I would say. Simply put, what is the AtHome program? It's our way of delivering for free library materials. We don't have any sort of thresholds people need to meet or criteria for joining the AtHome program. You don't have to be homebound. You don't have to be a certain age. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to be a resident of Iowa City, Hills, Lone Tree, University Heights, or rural Johnson County to be eligible. This picture here, so these green bags that are on the slide, these are what we use with the United States Postal Service to send materials back and forth for people who are registered in the AtHome program. It's very easy to use the service. My favorite part about AtHome is that you can kind of make it your own program, and you don't really need to change your habits as a library user that much to be part of it. If you are used to managing your account online yourself and placing holds through our catalog, or simply calling on the phone and talking to a staff member to request books, you can continue to request materials in the same way after you join the AtHome program. What changes is that instead of those materials being routed to the hold shelf, those materials will be routed to the AtHome area, where then they will be packed up by me or other staff members in our department who mail these things. And so we pay the postage to send it there. We also pay the return postage. So we weigh the materials in these bags, we affix the postage. You see there's a mailer label on the green bag. One side of that label has the patron's address. The other side of that label has our return address. And so to return the items, you simply flip over the card and put it in your mailbox or mail area if you're in a care facility. And it works very foolproof for about 150 people, I would say. Currently, we have 175 enrolled at-home patrons. Over the past year, each month, only about 68 people have been using the program each month. And some people use the program every week or almost every day. There's probably a core of 25 power users who are getting stuff all the time. But, you know, there are some people who just pop up every now and then. One trend I have noticed is that people will join the at-home program and say, I am primarily just going to be using digital library resources and checking out ebooks. But occasionally there's going to be a physical book I'll want. And so I want to be in the at-home program because I can't make it downtown, or I have limited mobility. Or during COVID, there was definitely a swelling of our at-home base. And that's kind of shrank back down too. So we had a lot of people signing up. In 1 month, there were about 20 people who enrolled, which is so much higher than normal, where we might have like 2 people join in a month.
Yeah, it's mostly going back to Terry's presentation, so we can catch up on those now or later. But there's a comment that the at-home program is wonderful, and you're right, not a lot of people know about it. So glad to share with you today.
Yes, and my favorite thing about the at-home program is that I get to know some people pretty well if they want to. I mean, if people want to interact with me, they can quite a bit. And I actually find that very fun and rewarding to get to know different people's tastes.
I don't know if you can see the chat, Terri, but they're asking about the date in April for Carol Spaziani's event.
Well, it is the volunteer recognition event, which we honor all of our volunteers, and that is April 27th. It's 6:30 to, I believe it's going to be until maybe 8 this year. It is an annual presentation, and we honor all of the volunteers. Like I said, it's been 3 years since we've had one, so we're excited. Again, it's in Meeting Room A, so it's open to the public. It will have a tribute to Carol. This fall, the Carol Spaziani Intellectual Freedom Festival will also be dedicated to her with some programming, and that's in late September. We haven't set the dates yet or what the programs are going to be. About the bookend, when you fill out your volunteer application, you can get one online at icpl.org, or you can go to any public service desk and get a paper application. If you wish to work at the bookend, you just check it, and then they will give that application to Patty McCarthy, and she can tell you what they do up at the bookend. Right now, they're not back to their regular hours yet, but I believe that that is coming probably by this summer sometime. And you work in the bookstore and you help out, and she probably can address that probably better than I can, since I don't do that, but it is a very popular volunteer program.
I think for anybody who hasn't been in the bookend, it's sort of run by one person at a time, running the cash register and answering questions. So it's sort of a solo job, but you would get the chance to talk with people who were shopping.
I often see people in there just chatting. So it's a pretty great place. All right. I finally was able to get my screen to go. So I just wanted to share my contact info. If anyone is interested or wants to talk more about the at-home program, or knows somebody who you think could benefit from the at-home program, my work phone number and my email, which is simply athome@icpl.org, are there. Don't be shy to reach out or to hand out my contact info. There is a short enrollment process to becoming an at-home patron. And I think that I don't really consider this a drawback, because you gain so much more by being in the program that will benefit you. But you do lose the ability to check out many things at the downtown library. The switch off is sort of that you don't check out items at the downtown library, except if you're able to come down. You can check out one at the help desk and tell them to mail the rest. And we do that just so that you don't get in a pickle where you have a bunch of materials and no way to return them. So yeah, but the one thing we do is we do allow at-home patrons to check out as much as they want at the Bookmobile. If you're interested in checking out the Bookmobile, or if the Bookmobile comes to a place that's convenient for you, you can check out stuff there, and you can return at-home materials there if you want. So let's see, the Bookmobile has been part of our library lives for 5 years. There should be a 5-year bash announced soon, I believe, if it hasn't already been. You can check our website calendar for that. Yeah, I can't believe it's been 5 years. So if you look at the picture of the Bookmobile, it's been a while. And then the pandemic sort of took some time away from us to share the Bookmobile from the community, or with the community, which was unfortunate. But I think that the Bookmobile is coming back stronger than ever. Over the fall, there was a very successful Wilson's Orchard stop, which captured a great swath of the community, families going to the orchard to get pumpkins and apples. We definitely go to different care facilities or retirement centers such as Oak Knoll and Melrose Meadows. One thing I always like to mention, just so people know, is that the Bookmobile is entirely wheelchair accessible. There's a wheelchair lift in the back, and there's multiple different formats of materials inside the Bookmobile too. So you can access movies, books on disc, large print books, fiction and nonfiction, all within this small, wonderful space. I chose this picture to share because I think it captures sort of the size of the vehicle. It is a vehicle, it is smaller, but it's not that small. I mean, there's these two people here with space between them talking. And then there's some serious browsers in the back looking for what they would like to check out. Over the past few months, I've been going on the Bookmobile once a month to go to Prelude, which is a substance abuse rehab center in town. And I'm happy to say that in the summer schedule, Prelude is going to be a weekly stop. We got great feedback that it was a very wonderful break, because they cannot really leave Prelude once they've checked in. So it was really nice for them to have somewhere to go other than the center that was sanctioned and okay. So anyway, you can check out the Bookmobile schedule by going to, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, icpl.org/bookmobile to find the most recent Bookmobile schedule. The new schedule will be coming out around the beginning of April if you want to see what stops will be hitting up this summer. Another thing to keep in mind is Bookmobile parties in the park happen at a different park each Thursday night this summer. So that's always a fun time to sort of be out and about with the community. All right, I am switching it over to Stacey McKim to talk about the Digital Media Lab.
Okay, thanks, Heidi. So the Digital Media Lab is up on the second floor of the library, and it's an open workspace with technology for digital media projects, from creating new things to digitizing old materials that you already have at home. So what can you do in here? You can get creative with Adobe software, which if you didn't have it here and tried to buy it for yourself can be a very expensive annual cost. So we're excited to offer you Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, which all three of those help you make designs to either print out or share online, as well as Premiere Pro, which edits videos. And next slide. Another thing you can do is make digital art with a drawing tablet and stylus. If this is something that you haven't ever tried before, you would be amazed at how impressive even the most basic scribble can look when you use the software that enhances it. Next slide. We also have equipment for you to make an audio recording. You may or may not ever have a need for that, but we have a MIDI keyboard that's basically a synthesizer, or if you wanted to interview someone in your life and record it for the future, we can get you started with that equipment for use in the library. I should clarify, all of this is for use in the library. And next slide. And then digitization. So I did a whole tour of the lab recently, and I said the word digitization about 20 times before someone raised their hand and said, what exactly is that? So this is where you take something that was analog, so like the tape running through a VHS or a cassette tape, and you do a process to convert it into a digital file. And then with the digital file, you can either email that to somebody, share it on YouTube, or you could also burn it onto a disk. So if you have old materials, like old tapes, they won't last forever. They sort of degrade over time. And so if you want to make sure you can keep something for the future, you should stop in. So the VHS digitization is the most popular, but we also could do cassettes. We've got some other little old technology things that you might need if your computer doesn't have them anymore. We have bigger scanners than the one shown here that can scan art or photos up to 12 by 17 inches. And then you can see these trays for precise scanning of slides or negatives. And the next slide. If you're trying to sell something on Facebook, or if you've got a piece of art that you made, we have a new light box that you can take beautiful photos with white backgrounds. We also have a paper cutter if you are a crafter or if you just need to trim one thing really nicely. And then this tracing light box is useful for different things. Some people have used it to look at their slides to decide whether or not they want to take the time to scan them. You can also use it if you create a design and you want to trace it onto watercolor paper or fabric for embroidery. It shines a bright light between your paper and your thing you're going to write on, and can be useful for different projects. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the Digital Media Lab is here for self-guided, independent work and learning, and it's available anytime the library is open, except for the very occasional children's program. You can check that on the library's website. We provide instructions for the most popular equipment. And you can also find old class handouts for things like beginner's Photoshop so that you can learn about software on your own. The library also has a subscription to LinkedIn Learning, which used to be called lynda.com. And that has in-depth videos and tutorials on Adobe software, as well as other technology topics, like you could do a whole class on PowerPoint or Excel or whatever you're interested in. And there's free access to LinkedIn Learning for library card holders that live in our primary service area. You can ask staff about that if you want to learn more. And then library staff also offer technology classes periodically, and that can be about the software that's in the lab so that you can get going on using it, or also general technology topics like Gmail or online safety. You can find out what's coming up next by grabbing a paper calendar the next time you're in the library. You can also look on our online calendar for classes and workshops, or whenever I'm on the ball, I send Emily our upcoming tech classes, so you probably also see them in the Senior Center information. And we would love to see you at classes in a mixture of Zoom and in person, so doing both. And then finally, on the slide here, the Digital Media Lab help hours. These are certain times when either I or my intern are available for one-on-one assistance. We can give you a tour of the space. Sometimes there's a separate tour scheduled. We can help you try out a new Adobe program for the first time, or just be there to troubleshoot with you if anything goes wrong. And so look on our website for those hours too, in case there's ever a cancellation. We don't want you to show up with nothing happen. And then as far as fun things go, it's craft night in the lab. Just wanted to plug that's coming up in a couple of months. Every other month, you can come into the lab and either bring your own craft project to do in the company of other people who like to make things, or we provide Shrinky Dinks and a button maker. And so you could make a little gift for someone or something to like snazz up your jacket or your bag. So hope you'll drop in for that sometime if you're interested. Okay, Heidi, next slide. The other thing I want to talk about is some popular online resources that the library has. Maybe you already know about these, but if you don't, you will be amazed at what's available to you here. So on this slide, I'm showing you how you can get started. You can either go to the library's website and then choose Digital Library from that Books and More dropdown, or you can just scroll down the homepage and there will be the next little images that I'm going to show you. Go ahead. So ebooks tend to be what we get the most questions about. So we'll start there. We have two different options for getting to ebooks. Libby is the circle with the little girl reading. And then Hoopla is our new one. Libby is the classic option with the biggest variety, and that library staff are choosing all of these books specifically because we think they'll be attractive to you. Everything that's in Libby also shows up in the library's online catalog too. So this is our primary one, and it also has magazines for you to read as well. Hoopla is a new edition. It has some extra ebooks that we couldn't get in Libby, but they don't show up in the catalog necessarily, and it's sort of like they choose which things that they'll provide. So we don't have as much control over Hoopla, but its main appeal is that it has comic books, music albums, movies, and TV shows, which we weren't able to offer all of those before. So we're at sort of a transition moment where it might be confusing that we've got these two options. So if you have any questions about what's right for you, just let us know and we'll walk you through it. The other thing on the read section is newspaper websites. So you don't have to pay for a subscription to the New York Times website. You could go through our website every 3 days and click a few clicks and you'll get free access for 72 hours. So it's the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. One of them is longer than 3 days, but they all make you jump through that hoop because they're probably hoping you would have your own subscription if you find it too painful. But just bookmark that page and you will be reading in no time. Let's do the next slide. So audiobooks maybe come second after ebooks. If you're an audiobook fan, you'll find them in both Libby and Hoopla. Same thing, you might want to search both for a certain thing you're looking for, or you might enjoy just browsing Hoopla on its own for something that you would love. We also have our local music project. If you didn't know about this, the library contracts with local bands, and they provide some or whole albums or parts of albums for you to download and keep forever. So if you're ever wondering whether you want to go to a certain performance that's happening in town, maybe you could check here first and listen to their music before you decide. Then for watching, Canopy has documentaries and more artsy films. You get a certain number of watches per month, and we love Canopy. And then Hoopla, same thing. You get a limited number of credits in Hoopla, but you can watch movies and TV shows there as well. Next slide. And then this is the last part. If you scroll down the library's homepage, a few more things that are just very popular that you might have missed. We can give you access to the Consumer Reports website. You would have to go through the library's website and log in with your library card number, but you can see all of their reviews, all of their guidebooks, all in one place. Then we also have Mango languages. You can use this to learn another language, and they have something like 20 or so to choose from, and it's a kind of thing where you would log in and it would keep track of your progress. So if you're thinking of learning something, that's an option. Creative Bug, we got about a year or two ago, and it has videos of people making craft projects or art projects. You can follow along with their list of supplies and the how-to videos, make something new. And then I already mentioned LinkedIn Learning, but we're just still excited that we have it now. Okay, the last slide for me is about tech help. Eventually, everybody needs tech help for one thing or another, and we can be here for you and try to help you as much as possible. We are encouraging people to stop by the info desk anytime the library is open to get in-person tech help. If you've been around a while, you might remember that we used to schedule drop-in tech help certain days of the week and certain times. And our hope is that nobody has to wait for that anymore. Please just come upstairs anytime and we'll do what we can for you. We can definitely help with issues you have with the library's resources. So if you're not quite getting Hoopla to work on your device, come in and we'll make sure we get through that. And then we'll do our best to help with your personal devices or other software, things like that. You can also call the library. We get a lot of calls and we always have an IT person on carrying a phone around so that they can answer questions about library online resources. If you are on our homepage and you'd rather email or chat, you can scroll down to the bottom for those options. And we have lots of conversations about the library's tech stuff, as well as other library questions. And then, of course, drop by any service desk and we'll get you where you need to go. And that's all I have.
All right. Thanks, Stacey. That was a lot of information about our digital library and our digital services and our digital media lab. And then every Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. is Sunday Fun Day in the kids' room. It's a family-friendly event where there's a free craft. So if you have any little people in your life and you want something fun to do with them on a Sunday, I would recommend that.
Yeah, so I'll talk about what the heck just happened processing our pandemic years. We thought that it would be useful for people on the 2-year anniversary of the COVID-19 shutdowns to reflect on what we've been through and meet with others doing the same. So Candace and I came up with 10 prompts for people to either journal about or talk about with a friend or just reflect on. So the prompts are adaptability, masks, the outdoors, silver linings, work, connections, grieving, home, illness, and then what's next. And so we're encouraging people to spend some time thinking about all of those. And then we'll come together a week from today on Tuesday, March 29th, and we'll have a community discussion about what this has been like for all of us. And we're interested to hear how things were similar and how I'm sure we've all had very different experiences of the pandemic.
Thank you, thank you. So that's kind of the end of our planned presentation. We're welcome to any questions now. I'm also putting our contact info on the screen.
Consumer reports, yeah. So on the library's homepage, I can scroll down and we've got lots of like book lists and things for you to browse there. But then once we get down here under the Explore section, there's a link for consumer reports. Since I'm in the library, it's probably going to just let me go straight through without logging in maybe. But if you're doing it at home, it will probably ask you for your library card number and just to prove that you are part of our paid access to it. And it is nice, it's set up like this so that you can start browsing or you can search for the certain thing that you're looking for at the top here. since we're looking at the website, the other thing that you can do if you want to see absolutely every online resource that we have is back at the top under Books and More. You've got online resources. So the digital library is sort of for things that you would want to spend time reading and be entertained by. And online resources is more for things where you want to look up a specific piece of information, but you're not going to read the entire newspaper or the entire journal article. And so on this page, it's more things that you would use for research or finding historical information. You can jump down to C's, find consumer reports, and browse all of the other options that are on here.
Can you talk about genealogy resources?
I can try to.
Or tell us what's available, maybe.
So it is an art and a skill. So there's this category over here called genealogy and local history. The library has Ancestry. For a time during the pandemic, they were allowing people to use it from home, but that has come to an end. So now you have to come into the library to use Ancestry, or we also have Heritage Quest, and there's this new one called Heritage Hub. So there's lots of things on here that you might want to sort of dig into. But a lot of the things are also about access to newspapers. So if you are looking for old marriage notices, obituaries, things like that, we've got access to different clumps of newspapers, all sort of split up. So you'll want to be strategic about where your people have lived, so you know you're searching in the right place. May is coming up, and that is Local History Month or something like that. So there will be a series of genealogy classes led by Beth Fisher in just a month or so. So if that's a topic that you are passionate about or you just want to get started, keep an eye out for May, and there will be several to choose from.
I'd like to just make a quick comment about LinkedIn Learning and how amazing that is. So LinkedIn is sort of a website where people connect and network to get jobs, more or less, or to basically network with other people in their sort of field. But LinkedIn Learning has a lot of usability beyond helping you get a job. It's actually helped me become a little bit more confident with my technology skills, because you can watch tutorials about Excel, Microsoft Word, all sorts of different things that may or may not have to do with getting a job or finding a job. They've just helped me be more efficient. Right now, I'm working on developing some QuickBooks skills. So I would recommend checking out what LinkedIn Learning has to offer, because it's pretty remarkable that all of that learning is ready to access for free through the library website. So I'm not paid by the LinkedIn Corporation, but I do enjoy LinkedIn Learning and think it has a lot to offer people wanting to up their tech game, as it were.
I have another question about accessing your own account on the library website. So I do have an account. I can't remember what I did when I set it up, but going to the login page, I see it asks for the library card number and then a password PIN. What if you don't have an account yet? How do you first set up your password? Like if you do have a library card, but not online account access.
Yeah, Heidi, or do you want me to answer?
I mean, I'm happy to answer. I think the best thing, if you have a library card account, but you don't have this PIN or password, you can call us at 319-356-5200. If we're open, we'll answer. Stacey has kindly shared the link to the online PIN reset. So
yeah,
that
either way works. If you have to do it yourself, you can, or drop in or call. And so a lot of people may not have a PIN or password, but if you got a card in the last several years, there's probably something on your record. And so we can set up something new for you so that you can get going. If there's anybody here who doesn't have a library card yet, you have a couple of options. stopping in with your photo ID is a quick way to get started with a card. But if you suddenly realize at 10 p.m. that that's the moment you want to start getting ebooks and get a library card, you can sign up for a card on the library's website, and we'll give you a temporary number so that you can get started immediately. So let us know if that's the situation for anybody, and we can show where that link is on the website.
Do you have any programs coming up that you're really excited about? For each of you, anything that you want to share aside from the things you've already shared?
Summer reading. There's going to be a summer reading program, and there's always prizes for kids and teens and adults. In years past, it's been choose a best-selling paperback from this book cart. I'm pretty sure that's probably what it is this year again, but you never know. I participated in winter reading and I got a mug, so that was fun.
And then we do have 2 poetry events scheduled for the first week in April, or the first full week, because that is Poetry Month. So on Tuesday, April 5th, we'll be doing blackout poetry in the evening. This is where you take a page from a book and you search for interesting words and you cross out everything else. So you're left with a little poem that was found within an ordinary piece of text. And then 2 days later, we're doing something called Put a Poem on It, where we'll teach you how to do a packing tape transfer. It's where you can print anything on a regular piece of paper, stick packing tape on it, rub it hard, and when you get it wet and take the paper off, it becomes a sticker again. So we're going to put it on little glass holders for candles, but you could do this for anything, and it wouldn't have to be poetry. You could do it with photos too. So that should be a fun craft, and then also get people sort of reading each other's poetry selections and getting excited to read more poetry in our lives.
Yeah, I'll add to the Poetry Month. There's a lot of things going to happen at the library on Poetry Month. We're working with Poetry Iowa City on a couple of programs later in the month, and I think they have a couple of their own programs. And it looks like it's mainly on Tuesdays, but look throughout our calendar for the whole month and see what's available. I'm looking forward to the fall when we do Intellectual Freedom. I think the Freedom Festival, the Carol Spaziani Intellectual Freedom Festival, and I think this year it's gotten into everybody's vocabulary is intellectual freedom, what it is, and how we really are a forefront to it here at the library. It's a cornerstone of democracy, is intellectual freedom. And we always have good programs every year. I think this year we'll probably have some other great things to add to our legacy of programming. And so I think you'll see that. Basically, summer, we'll be doing all kinds of summer reading things all the time. There'll be the Bookmobile anniversary, which is coming up. We'll probably also maybe this fall do another miniature craft thing that we'll be working on. So that was very, very popular, our Book Nook this last fall. So we may do another one of those, or we may do something else with miniatures, because it turned out to be one of our most popular programs in the last, 2 years? So we're looking forward to that stuff. So, and just keep looking at our calendar. Come in, we have a printed one, or if you go online, you can find it. There's all kinds of things going on. And if you see us at one of the public service desks, just come up and say, hey, I saw the program at the Senior Center. I really liked it. We really need the feedback. And well, we have egos too. So thank you all.
Thank you, Terri. Yeah, Terry's a very enthusiastic miniaturist. I don't know if that's exactly what you would call it, but her dollhouses and the things she does on the miniature scale are just amazing. So I hope that comes to light a little bit more in library programming. Well, thank you, Emily, and thank you everyone who participated and showed up just to listen to some library love and learn a little bit more about what we do and what you can access.